Hijabis, humanism, history, and a Star Trek unboxing today on Trekland Tuesdays Live. Yes, yeah, it is Dr. Trekler and Nemecek coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and Trekland Treks for some sanity, clarity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. And I mean that today. So it is another Tuesday. Wow. So yes, we've got the writers back at work. We've got the actors talking, which is great. And this is all happening much faster than a lot of people thought it would happen. People have been out on a strike for 5 months in the case of the writers. So that's awesome. We've got Lower Decks happening. We're heading into the fall. New York Comic Con is just around the corner. That'll be some headlines and more news. And yes, Lower Decks is happening. And, you know, I do a little segment, do a piece here on Trekland the last couple of years called Second Opinion. I think we're up to 32 or 33 now. And they are meant to be what I don't always do here, which is a actual reaction, not a review so much, but a reaction. And not a hot take or a quick take, but a second opinion from Dr. Trek. If you watch Second Opinion, you know what I mean. And they're usually out on Second Opinion Saturdays, just it's a hashtag. And I missed something in the in empathological fallacies, which was the Betazoid show, right? Now, I missed something, apparently, because I did my bit. It's been up for a week, but the interwebs blew up to some degree, and I saw some people that weren't aware of this, but things blew up a bit over one particular background feature that had nothing to do with the main plot of the episode of empathological fallacies, namely an officer in a hijab. Our friend here, nameless. Now, this, I don't know, this was a big deal to some people on 2 or 3 fronts. Now, I'm going to try to be fair here. I just want to say, number one, I'll save that for later. Apparently, 2 things. One, the issue of headgear, and 2, even more importantly, the issue of religion. Not all Muslim women and their cultures ask that they be worn, and sometimes they're huge, and they go all the way from full-length burqa here, right, to nothing at all, to the headpiece, to a very light scarf, and a lot of Muslim women, nothing. That's 2073. What set off a lot of fandom were a lot of people, and there was a pushback and a backlash about this, and a lot of people thought this was anti-Muslim talk. A lot of people thought this was misogynistic because it was a woman. A lot of people were out there just saying, no, this is Star Trek. There is no religion. There's no human Earth religion, right? That's what Gene wanted. This is Gene's vision. No religion is going to cloud, but we've outgrown religion. And that was kind of a spectrum of reaction. Then you had, of course, a lot of people saying, well, no, wait, whoa, this, pushing back and saying this smacks of being anti-Muslim, this smacks of being all kinds of things. And then you even had the people that said, oh my God, Gene's dead. Give it up. So there was this whole smattering of pushback here. Now, I just want to say that if you watched my second opinion from Empathological Fallacies, and if you haven't, why not? It's right there on my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. I didn't mention this at all. When I was watching the episode, I thought, oh, look, there she is again. What mystified me about this reaction, because there she is again, she immediately went into my big tank of 4,700 things that I could comment on each episode, but I don't. You can only pick so many. And I go with my gut reaction. If it intrigues me, if it flicks a red flag, if it's right in my face, if it makes me laugh, like a favorite line or a favorite moment, that's what I react to. That's what I comment on. That's what my second opinion is. And what I try to make second opinion, like with everything at Trekland, as you all hear me preach, and hopefully I live up to this, I try not to have it be the same old, same old. I try not to be just part of the pack. Now, look, a lot of times I overlap still. I'm commenting on this today because I feel the need to. And in part because this has gone on so long. Because I did Second Opinion. It comes out on Saturday. There was a moment or two where I thought we're working and editing and said, oh, should I go back and add something about this controversy, this hijab hassle? And I thought, well, no, by the time I get around to saying something, this will be yesterday's news. And what's amazing to me is this is one of those things that people either have their teeth into or they've got their teeth into the people with I mean, this has lasted several days. Now, maybe that's just the wave effect because the entire world, shock of shocks, is not all online together at the same waveframe. Some people are the tip of the spear. Some people don't live their whole life on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or X, and they don't look at it till the weekend. They don't look at it till they get around to it 3 or 4 days later. Okay. So I get that. But I still see people talking about this Sunday, Monday, yes, Tuesday, or always. No, that's an old song. So I thought, okay, should I address it in the next SO? No, I think I'll do it here. I think I'll do it here. Only because this has gone on so long and it wasn't just something that blew up and went away. Because here's what I wanted to say. No, I didn't talk about it on my Second Opinion. Because again, to me, when I saw Miss Ensign Lieutenant, can't see, her pips are covered up, Miss Ops with a hijab, she'd been before. In fact, part of my reaction to the reactors was, well, where have you been? What, have you been asleep? I'm not, I can value judge what you're saying, but my first thing is what? She had to be, I'm sorry, don't you watch? It's like, don't you watch don't you watch Lower Decks? Don't you know that there are Easter eggs all over the place? And for me, what threw me out of my chair was second season, Excretus, right? The simulation gal. She is coming in with the simulations, right? And you got this huge, huge view of the whole crew. You can look around, and of course, you can spot your regulars. There's all kinds of people here. And finally, people who are distinctive, some of the other non-human races that do stick out. It's a rainbow out there. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to trim it in here. There she is right there. There she is. There she is. But what really so that's her first appearance. This was early in second season. She's been on 3 more times since in the background. Why now? I don't know. But just because it was so prominently featured, I don't know. But I just part of me wants to just say, well, where have you been? Oh, you'll Easter egg if it's, the collector's ship. You'll Easter egg if it's a 50-pound Spock, 50-foot Spock. No, what's crazy, this is also maybe the first time we saw Taylor the Gazinti. I mean, there's the first time I saw a lot of people in here who you can go back and find it. But here's the other thing. For this discussion, here's obviously a crew member with his turban. I mean, come on, guys. Yeah. And what's amazing is he was in the pilot. He was there right as Tindy got off her shuttle for the Cerritos to check aboard for the first time. So again, maybe we've just got an awful lot of people who are not paying attention. We've got an awful lot of people who are shallow, no matter what they're going to say. But part of my reaction to this episode was, wait, what? A, you're making an issue out of our hijab-wearing officer, but she's been around before. If you're going to make an issue, why didn't you do it back then? In fact, if this, now here's the thing. I get it about the fact that this might be about thinking that Gene's original take on, we've outgrown religion, that in many ways throughout history, in a lot of ways throughout history, whatever, this is the equal opportunity root of evil, that almost every, I should say maybe, major religion, has been the cause of conflict. Religion's fighting religion and not doing well by supposedly the prophet that they're following, or whatever the holy book that they're following. People have said that for centuries. Oh yeah, well, the big problem with religion is, the wars that it starts here on Earth, which supposedly if we bypass that past World War III, met the Vulcans, developed warp drive, we would not. Gene's whole premise was that if we stop blowing ourselves up, killing ourselves, and killing the planet, If we don't stop that in real time, we'll never get to a Star Trek future. So that's what since day one has been the hopeful subtext, right? We just know. Now, we didn't always know the backstory. We've gradually been filling that in. We've got the eugenics orders. We got World War III, sadly. A lot of people are totally happy not to relive the prime timeline. And if there's temporal messing around, maybe we won't have to. That's a headache, but I won't go there today. What I'm saying is, part of this supposition that religion doesn't exist anymore is that it's not a factor in hate, in sowing divisionness. For the good that religion does, spreading love and joy and hate and acceptance, and in some ways, it sounds far-fetched at times in 2023, hopefully not in 2073, but in 2023, that religion is a force for good only, without negative consequences. And we do actually live our version of infinite diversity and infinite combinations, and understanding the beauty of that. As some people would say, in some faiths, like the beauty of creation, right? The diversity as the beauty of creation. Well, that's the uplifting side of what some people take from holy books. What I'm saying here is that in the 60s, it was very easy in a world where the censors were squashing diversity anyway. That was one thing that worked. The issue of religion like that didn't come up unless it was an alien religion, and then it could be an allegory and all of that. And that transcended the original series. That swept over into Next Generation. You had the aliens. As in DS9, we had the whole thing about the Bajoran religion. So again, it's like everything else is DS9. When we have these tropes about we all get along, we're all at peace, well, we have a lot of interpersonal friction going on too. But the whole point of DS9 was to show humanity at the center of a federation, and how human-centric is it? Mixing. It's the Dodge City. It's the Casablanca of mixing cultures. Ferengi, Klingons, Romulans, you name it, Bajorans, on down the line. And then, of course, Voyager was all about meeting them week after week in a quadrant where we didn't know anybody. And then Enterprise was just having your little baby human notions challenged week after week anyway. So it's not that religion has been absent from Star Trek. It's supposedly been absent from good old human-centric Earth, unfortunately centric Federation stories. And basically people would agree that Gene's point here, and Gene was a secular humanist by the end of the time. He was born actually Jewish. That there is a point to that. And that was part of the appeal, that when people look around the world and see Catholic Protestant, Northern Ireland and the Mideast, and we see the India-Pakistan, flashpoints, and you see even the tribal warfares in Africa, and then much less what's happening, the schisms, even in the majority Christian places like the U.S., and the role that religion is playing in mainstream politics and all of that. You can see why one of the breathing spots Gene would say is that, well, we've outgrown this. And then you go down the line, having computers as gods, and can Kurt fast talk them? Can his successors on the Cerritos fast talk them? All of that. And then we get back into some of those debates when you have things like the Secular Federation and the Bajoran fundamentalism. And remember, not all Vedic Wynn, later Kai Wynn's sect, was the fundamentalist. Bareil, who was equally popular, was the more moderate conciliatory one that tried to have the big tent. So again, kudos on that development for not being a black and white issue even there, right? Because it's texture, not trivia. So what's at stake here are people. Yes, I am sure there is a racist element to this, but I think there are people of good faith who are upset, as with other aspects of canon, smart holocoms and touchscreens in the 2250s. I think there's a lot of people of conscience who are just upset that there's that much religious display at all. But I would just say, again, why her now? And even more so, and I want to get out of the way here, did you know this? He's been around so long. In that same Simulations episode, he got a name. That's Arjun, everybody. These were awesome. These little scorecards were awesome because a lot of characters got named. Look, our blue-skinned original, our blue dewy-eared blue Star Trek 6 aliens that now we've got at least 3 members of. Our main guy is Merp. That's why we got Big Merp later. And now we've got Sleepy Merp for the woman. Female, apparently representing female. These are awesome. Go back to iExcredus and check them out. There's lots of names in here that you didn't know about. You'll recognize the face. They got to name a lot of those mystery aliens from that big crew picture. And by the way, Mike McMahon told us at our open house, Portal 47, a couple years ago, that crew shot, right? The crew shot was not the entire crew, that some people still were at station. So don't count all those bodies and say, oh, the Cerritos has 110 crew members or whatever it was. That's not accurate. What's still at stake here are the people that say, well, okay, fine, whoever it is, no religion in Star Trek. I just want to point out a couple things. If you go back far enough, Gene was, people say, well, this isn't Gene. This isn't his doing. I just want to bring up a couple of things. We can talk about mentions, right? Kirk met Helen Noel at a science lab Christmas party. Okay, Christmas mention. The verbiage is still there. At one time on a planet bringing in tons of gifts, Chakotay is trying to find a place to put down some wacky gifts from an alien world, and Janeway says it looks like Christmas morning in here. Okay, there's two. I would even say go back to Next Generation, which I know Gene was gone by then. And on the day that Keiko and O'Brien got married, according to data, some aboard who practiced were observing the Hindi Festival of Light. That's a famous example. They don't come up often, but they do, including the motion picture when Gene very much was alive and sprinkled throughout the crew on the rec deck, which was so awesome. There were at least 3, if not more, Native American crewmen who were representing in their cultural and spiritual garb, their headdress, which has a spiritual component to it. She may have been the only female. There were at least 2 males, again, presenting. But that was motion picture. That was very much Gene. Here's the kicker. And this is one of those things that 20 years goes by or 30 years goes by and you go, what? Back on That Which Survives, original series, when Sulu was on the planet and off the bridge and they needed the helmsman to have speaking lines, we had a guest character one time, an actress named Naomi Pollock. It took years of having a decent enough TV. Can you see there? Can you see? I want to go back to my friend that we have been talking about this entire show. Oh my God. Where we first talked about our hijab wearing. Our friend over here with the turban, yes, is Sikh. We've got a hijab wearing officer in the crew. And we have our Sikh friend here with his turban. Again, though, who has been here since the pilot. All right. And yes, who's got the name Arjun. That's been there since day one. Now, what I want to get to, though, was, as I was saying, yes, Radha appears to be Hindu with a bindi. This is 3rd season. Now, you might say, well, Gene wasn't running everything hands-on. It was Fred Freiberger then. Well, Gene was, they were still around. There were still the checks in place. But why? The actress is Naomi Pollock. She's Jewish. It's not like the actress was bringing in her faith here. Oh, it's an interesting question. Now, look, as I just wanted to throw that out to say, part of this whole discussion is we may be seeing all this through 2023 eyes, just as we look at our science, just as we look at, warp drive can't happen. Well, it can't happen right now. We're allowing 200, 300 years in the future for things to evolve. I mean, we're watching Star Trek stories basically about us in space. No one is assuming that the development of humanity sociologically, psychologically, even biologically is going to look like us in the real, assuming we live that long. Let's hope we do. We survive a civilization and we actually do some of this. Whatever form outreach takes and first contact and all this, we don't look like, we look at Shakespearean plays and have to really jump through hoops just to look at how people lived, much less talked and behaved 400 years ago. And the way some things are universal, obviously, when you're talking about Shakespeare, the Bible stories, any of the ancient texts and books that we see, very human things going on there. But then over time, as we have hopefully shed superstition, as we've hopefully shed more overt warlike tendencies. That's been the, as Gene would say, the human adventure is just beginning. We were a baby species still. We got to leave some wiggle room, not just on the tech and the science, but on attitudes too. And we already see this. The quotes about Christmas morning and the Christmas party, we do it right now. We have cultural more than religious celebrations. Now, does that transcend to our Sikh friends still having turbans? To our some Muslim? Not all Muslims women wear hijab now. So part of my reaction to the reaction has been, where have you been? You're not following along very closely, are you? But even given that, why the blow up about her not paying attention? Okay, fine. But why the blow up now? Not paying attention all along? No, it's not in your face. No, we don't have little boxes where the Catholics and the Methodists and the Baptists and the Muslims and the Jews and we don't have, that's not regimented like when you come into the new town with the Chamber of Commerce map and here's all your places of worship. No, it's not like that in Star Trek. Hey, we live in a 23rd century here where baseball is like a little is like a little resurrectionist, a little recreationist cult. It's like Civil War recreating or World War II recreating or whatever. Society created act. It's like medieval recreation. Now, I'm not going to say that, but I'm saying the numbers participating in baseball, apparently, unless we've had a huge comeback since Cisco's time just in the last 30 years. There's all kinds of historical, cultural things that, okay, they didn't die, but they're still in a celebrated little small space. There are lots of people that smile when they see a little kid open a Christmas present that aren't practicing Christians or hardcore practicing Christians. And that goes for all the faiths of the world. So, assuming that some of the pushback to our hijab officer are just people who are slow to the game and that they are not violently anti-racist, anti-Muslim. If they're sincerely talking about religion in the 23rd and 24th centuries, as opposed to what they perceived Gene's philosophy to be, well, there's that. There's that. We saw the signs, even the cracks in the wall, even the texture, not trivia, during his time and after. And it's still not an overt part of everyday life. There was still a chapel on the original Enterprise, interdenominational, interfaith to be sure, but there was still a chapel on the original Enterprise. Now, maybe that's something that has dissipated in the 100 years between Kirk's time and Picard's time. That at some point, that might be an interesting whatever to follow. Maybe Strange New Worlds goes there. Strange New Worlds had elements of faith. Pike is supposedly descended from a family of believers. So that's why the New Eden episode initially had some resonance there. And then with the change up in showrunners, that whole thread went away as season 2 Discovery went along. And as we got to the end and had thought we'd met Pike and even Spock out of his illness, and even number 1, that had not become a dominant thread of the themes. But that was even part of Discovery season 2 for a hot minute. So, and it will always be part of the themes that are part of New Eden, the second episode of the season. So this has been an interesting time. I would just say that those who are upset, those who are watching upset people, just to be a little broader minded, and some folks are totally zeroed in on, this is another thing of all ships should have 2 nacelles, not 1. You may not see it that way. That may be cold tech, and this may be very humanistic and all about the people. But some people in fandom will view it that way. Now, not everybody. And unfortunately, I'm sure there's a lot of racism. There's probably a lot of anti-Muslim thought out there that's behind some of this. Some of it I'm going to say isn't. So what I'm just saying to everybody is this is not new. Her character, much less our Sikh friend, had been on the Cerritos, for one example, since almost the beginning. And if you really look at the nooks and crannies of Star Trek, we've had mentions and even physical appearances of celebrations of religions. And even then, if the religion is tied up with a culture, people not making moves to excise that. Our hijab wearing lady might be the exact same as our crew that were wearing their Native American headdress. Now, yes, it's 100 years earlier, but coming out of the same well. I guess my bottom line here is the fact that there's just been this huge, there's a lot of nuance here, is what I'm saying. But the basic line, once again, is nothing is new. None of this is new. It's not new whether you're looking at a span of 2 or 3 years for these particular characters on lower decks, or if you look at the broad swath. And yes, it's not majority, but it's there. Infinite diversity, infinite combinations. If we see huge hordes of stampeding crusaders or barbarians at the gate, they're tending to be factions of Romulans or Klingons or Dominion changelings. They're not coming from Earth. They're not coming from, well, hopefully they're not coming from Andor or Vulcan, some of the home worlds. What Gene perceived is pretty much still the truth. And nobody should be feeling threatened, especially among human natives, Earth natives, of anything like that happening. All right. All right. That's what I wanted to say on that. I'm so glad. What my point was trying to be there was to point out that our Sikh friend with the turban has a name, Arjun. So we see you and we call you by name. And how long until our officer with the hijab gets a name? That will be an interesting, I mean, this season is done. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, maybe it pops up by the end of the year, but it'll be interesting to see what season 5 brings. Maybe we'll have another simulation situation where we'll be able to get 50 of that anonymous crew named at once. We'll see. The other part of this whole thing is I kept expecting this to die down. It didn't. So here we are. Feels like a week later, but it's really just 6 days, right? 5-6 days. So maybe there's something there you hadn't known. Maybe there's some food for thought there as usual. I'm glad to have you aboard and thinking about that. But one thing I want to make sure everybody realizes is that, I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good about things. People are out and about and traveling. I think we're about to have, though, our Star Trek is going to run out. We've got, 4 or 5 more episodes of Lower Decks, and then it will be a drought until spring whenever they get around to airing Discovery. And we might hear that at New York Comic-Con. It's a perfect time. It's a perfect time as you travel for the holidays, as you travel for business. Yeah, to get out to LA. And if you've never done it, if you've thought about it and never done, maybe this is the time to come in and schedule a Trekland Treks with me. It's your own custom away mission. I work with you to pick the places. Here's the menu of 50 sites. Some of them I have still not been to. I need to, especially some of the Picard places. But we can work on that. I'll be your host. I'll be your driver. Wherever you're staying, it's door to door, and I wrangle your props, your cosplay, whatever it is you want. Check it out, Trekland Treks. And you walk away with all the information about all the filming and location sites that you've picked. It's awesome, customized just for you. Hopefully, you can take advantage of that. The trickle of attention is starting to come back finally after the pandemic and the slowdowns. Some folks there's still plenty of dates open, but people are starting to call and get dates. Weekday, weekend, it doesn't matter as long as it fits the site that maybe you want to go to, right? That might depend on. So yes, of the things that are happening, I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to thanking our Trekland Tuesdays Live, our Patreon folk again. So thank you, Diana Hopkins, Lawrence Todd, Justin Porteous, Chris Jiggins, Comedy Forecast, Robin Wilson, Anne-Marie Siegel, Galinda Bruton, Pranakasha Productions, and Andrew Jazimski. And then our live wires are our slightly higher level. We're talking $5 and $10 levels, folks, so I keep it simple. But our live wires, thank you to, with this shout out, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Halbert Gudjonsson, Andrew Hohensee, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Donna S. Runyon, and Kay Usichowski. Thank you. The live wires, as their little extra tier bonus, get access to the first few years of Portal 47 backstage interviews from our guest nights, right? If you want to jump into, again, it's very simple. It's patreon.com/Trekland Live. It comes at the end of the month. We just started a new month. So thanks everybody who is a Patreon. I don't make a big deal out of my Patreon. It's there, very simple. Hopefully it's something you can do if you're not jumping on anything else. That's a Trekland service, all right? And hey, Trek Files is still on hiatus. We'll be back in a few weeks, but 10 seasons are there. Check it out. Facebook Trek Files is where our documents of the week are, which are, I say it's the only podcast with homework. Check it out there. We will be back in a few with some guests. We're already getting back in the can for our 11th season. Yeah, I know. And hey, if you are leaving us right now because you're watching later on YouTube, thanks for doing so. Make sure and comment below. The live folks are about to take off in the chat, but you can still comment here. You can still like and subscribe there on YouTube. And if you're looking around the interwebs, check me out. I'm still on X, Twitter, at Larry Nemecek. Same as it is here. Trekland is here. There, and also Instagram and even Facebook, Larry's Trekland. Portal47.net is your minicon all year long. It's my business service for the fans that don't want the post-con blues. They want guests and information and community. And yeah, me sharing my archives all year long, every month. So check that out too. We are coming up very soon to open house dates. I'm a little slow to get the dates out there, but look for it in the next week. We'll be talking about our open house and our special guest when we open the doors for the portal and let everybody in. We've got some awesome, awesome things to give away too. Which reminds me, I think I promised an unboxing today, right? I did. So before we go, boom, my unboxings might look a little different than yours, but here we go. I know what this is. I am so excited. Have you been keeping up with the news? Yes. Prodigy Season 1, Part 2. Part 2 is now out with all kinds of expanded special features. It says right here, there's 45 minutes. Now, look, this is a half season. This is 10 episodes. They're half hours. So there is that, but there's 45 minutes of bonus content. Do we get bloopers? No, we don't get bloopers. There's deleted scenes. There's also character cards in the box. So whether you're a kid of 40 or a kid of 4, there's a lot of fun. The Prodigy set. So yes, this is still coming out from CBS Home Entertainment. People were bamboozled. Did you see this? To see the last very short treks where Prodigy was included in our friend Aaron Walton's litany of all the series, including the animateds, including Prodigy, because Paramount Plus is who canceled Prodigy. Paramount TV and CBS and Nickelodeon have not canceled the show. They're looking for a new home with 20 episodes already done. You know it's just a matter of time. And now, thanks to the erasure, you could not see the rest of season 2 until now. Now it is out on hard media. You can relive the episodes because kids, by the second half of first season, this show was not just for kids. Things were getting pretty complex. The Federation politics, if you can believe this, were really starting to ramp up. There's the new player, the Val Nukat, but you've got Romulans in Neutral Zone and Borg and yes, and all the species that you love. The first encounter of 2 Tellarites on screen with speaking roles actually happened on... Anyway, it's lovely, and it as anything else, and some people will say this, Prodigy exhibits all those Gene Roddenberry values. The core of the Star Trek vision might be in its purest form for the kids and their adult parents and any adult who's smart enough to be watching. You might get the purest essence of Star Trek yet from Prodigy. And I'm so thrilled that part 2 of season 1 is out today. You can get it anywhere, Amazon, wherever you get your DVD. Check around. I'm sure there'll be sales from time to time. There's documentary reels. We've got the crew and cast talking. It's all there, and it is out. And I am so thrilled to finally get my copies. And This is going to be among the giveaways you want to watch for our open house date and register. So we can register and do giveaways as we do every year. We've got books, we've got DVDs coming or Blu-rays. Can't wait to do that. By next week, I'll be telling you about our open house. Alrighty, kids. That is going to do it for today. For now, I'll be right back to dive into the chat for at least 30 minutes or so. But I just want to say, if you are leaving us now on YouTube, hey, stay healthy, would you? It's still a bumpy world out there. Stay woke. Check the sources. And trek well, would you?